Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another video. Today we got a new reaction. A new person has joined the reaction. What you call it? Her name is Amalo. So we're gonna see.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back, or welcome.
Oh, by the way, if you're considering leaving the left, yes, this is about politics. I said in the previous video that I'm done not doing the politics stuff. Because I was a political person outside of the YouTube videos, but it's not going to take over the channel. I'm still going to put gaming content, all that other content up, and different reactions and stuff that I'm doing. But yeah, we will be inserting politics because I do think that there needs to be more voices out there that are not just left, not just right. There's got to be more people like me that are pretty much in the middle, can see things how they are without getting so caught up in either side.
Welcome in if you are new here. We're going to continue to talk about the assassination of Charlie Kirk. It's gruesome, it's heinous, it's one of the biggest political moments of our lifetime. And I've addressed,
True,
of course, my reaction to it and what it means. I've addressed the disgusting celebration of his death on the internet. And I realize there's a different
true.
group of people that I want to address personally, as I'm a member of that group. And that is people who are leaving the left, or people who are even considering leaving the left.
This guy right above me here. Um, I saw his video scrolling TikTok one day, and it is kind of sad to see like so many people roaching out. Um, and it's not even like sad to the point like I don't know what's the best. I do think that there is an important role that needs to be played when it comes to getting rid of the party system in general. Like, if it was me and I could snap my fingers right now and just make it come true, I would I would completely abolish naming any sort of political party. Just not giving any distinction whatsoever, right? Because it causes people to it causes people to become narrow-minded because they feel like they're a part of something, right? When in order to make any sort of rational decision, you need to be able to remain objective. And I do think that get kind of when you get too involved with these communities, these worlds, these quote unquote teams, right? It makes you more skewed to want to believe and live by certain ideals and things where when it comes time to make critical thinking decisions, you lack the ability to do so because you only see things from one perspective, which is why Charlie Kirk was so important to so many people, was the fact that he took his perspective and he allowed anyone who was anyone to come up to a microphone and challenge his perspective every single time. And he never once just said, "Get the out of here." He never once just said, because there was certainly unrulies that went up to the mic and they didn't even have an argument. They just wanted to insult him, this and that and the other. But he always made an honest effort when they came with an argument to listen to that argument, challenge it with his argument, and just see kind of where things lie. Like maybe he does progress a little bit, maybe he doesn't progress. But at the end of the day, everybody had an honest shot, and now nobody has an honest shot because there ain't nobody else who was doing what he was doing. Not a single person right now who is willing to approach things on such an open and like just honest level
Right now, with everything that we're witnessing online, I can't
right
help
now.
but think that the heinous nature of the responses, the disgusting, vile celebrations of his death. There's got to be people who are jumping to leave the left and saying, this is not indicative of who I am as a person. This ideology no longer represents me. And then there's
Yep.
probably going to be those who are
That soured a lot of people. That soured so many people. Oh man. And the sad part is not, well, not even a sad part. I don't know why I keep saying that. The crazy part is like they didn't like Charlie Kirk either. They didn't like him, but they left the left because, well, they left the left because they're treating it like it's some fucking crazy moral victory. Like, and it's due to that fact, and because their arguments, generally speaking, are emotionally based, you've now stripped that emotion away from the people who were part of your ideology, and that veil, that illusion is no longer there. So when you snap them back to reality like that, of course they're going to leave. Of course they're going to leave. And it doesn't mean that they're going to go become conservative all of a sudden, but they will definitely not be partaking in any more left shenanigans.
With the idea that the left no longer represents them, that it is no longer a part of
True.
who they are as a person.
True.
And they're starting to
It's
see
very poor
the sort of
taste.
fabric of their political framework or political worldview sort of tear and fall apart here.
Yep.
And I want to address
What did I just say? Snap back to reality. Snap them back. And because of that, when you ground somebody like that, they tend to rethink a lot of things, and their ability to analyze, their thought process goes way up. And when they do that and they approach things from a logical perspective, they see a lot of the shit that they've been following, covering, pushing ends up being a falsity, a farce, a fucking fugazi, a fugazi, or whatever the fuck that line is from.
those people as a former leftist myself. I went through that, my own journey
Y'all know if y'all saw Wolf of Wall Street, dude. W fucking movie. I love that shit.
with that years ago. And this, if you are on the left right now and feeling any amount of what I felt back then, has to be a hundredfold, of an experience to what I went through. Now, I'm not advocating that people jump from the left and then label themselves a Republican or a conservative. I'm
Like
not
and
saying that I
subscribe.
want you to come and take on the label of my group, although transparently I am, I guess, center right in my political leanings. All I'm advocating for is that if you feel like the left is no longer representative of who you are as a person, really consider that and follow that feeling. Don't feel judged into not following it. Don't feel as though you
Fair.
can't contend with that feeling. Have it be something that you truly explore, because I think this extreme reaction to Charlie Kirk's death, the extreme celebratory nature of some of these responses, is so indicative of leftist ideology. And if it doesn't sit right with you, it's because leftism does not sit right with you. And it didn't with me. And I'll get to that in a little bit, but I want to focus on some of these responses that I'm seeing.
To be fair, in all fairness, this isn't like an overall overarching every single person on the left is celebrating Charlie Kirk's death, but unfortunately there is a loud, and I mean fucking jet engine sonic boom loud, amounts of people in the left who are just certain, so like personally tied into everything, that it is going to overshadow anybody on the left who is being very reasonable about it, who is being very upfront in the fact that they do not agree with it. I mean, even some of the more like radical, like popular politicians, like Gavin Newsom, for example, um, he openly condemned the actions. He openly said that this is not the way that things should be. Um, but the people on the left are unfortunately tied in so closely with these liberals, these fucking lunatic, fucking absolute insane people that are pushing these insanely crazy agendas. Um, and I did see something that Trump said that conservatives didn't exist or something like that. That's a fucking lie. Okay. Anybody who's anybody can see that conservatism definitely is a thing. There is conservatives. Now, would I call Charlie Kirk a conservative though? No. No, I don't. Um, I would definitely say that Charlie is much more of a he's much more of a moderate who leans right than anything else. Nah, you could make the argument that he's Republican. But I do see a lot of these clips, and a lot of these clips are definitely much more of just like center of the road. He's not picking sides. he's just pushing what he thinks life should be like for the average American, and that definitely pushes him a bit more to the right than it does left. Because I mean, I think majority of Americans, I mean, we saw it in the last election, a majority of Americans are definitely starting to lean right. So it does make sense that he also leans that direction. Um, but I don't know, man. I still think it's one of those things where it's like you have the Republicans, you have the Democrats, and then you have the moderates in the middle, and then way out here you have the liberals spewing crazy shit, being loud as hell. And then you have conservatives over here being crazy as fuck as well, and also being loud as hell. And the problem is that the two parties that should be entirely separate, the liberals should be their own party, conservatives should be their own party, and then the Republicans and Democrats should also be their own party. We should have four fucking parties and not just fucking two of them that are so entwined together that you can't tell which is fucking which because they all push the same bullshit. So that's where I think the problem lies, right? I think if you're a Democrat, you need to start separating yourself from liberals. And if you're a Republican, you need to start separating yourself from conservatives and you need to push them out. Push them out. You need to stop giving them a platform. Because the reason that this stuff is happening is because these two, way out here, are the two fighting over everyone else. And everyone else is trying to maintain a more rational, still kind of, they can be a bit confrontational, but they're not like really like going crazy with it. But these two outside narratives, these two outside groups are pushing insane rhetoric. And that's what, and because they're loud, people listen. People listen. Whether you like to admit it or not, 99% of the time, they are both completely fucking wrong. But the problem is, they're so fucking loud, you can't ignore them. Like, it's the same thing with the whole fucking LGBT fucking Q shit, right? Um, well, I don't know how many letters they're at now, but when this stuff was heavily criticized and popularized, it was just LGBT. Like that was it. Those are the ones that started the group, and then it just fucking escalated from there. And nobody had a problem with any of them until the T's came along, and the T's were like, "Hey, we're gonna be loud as hell and demand everything from everyone, and you can never fucking criticize or do anything that would jeopardize our life in a public or private space." Once you did that and you tried to seize control, that's when you just lost. That's when you just lost. So I recommend the same thing for that community. If you're LGB, I suggest you further yourself from the T as much as possible. Because nobody has a problem with the LGB part of that at all. But it was when everything started getting crazy beyond that, that's when the pushback happened because it became radical. Like people don't like radical things. It makes them uneasy. It makes them uncomfortable, right? It makes them lash out, and that's what you don't want. You don't want that type of fucking radical behavior because it just makes us all look like fucking animals.
that sort of sparked the idea for addressing this group of people. And if you are one of those people who's listening right now, who's contending with this idea, or who is already ready to leave the left, welcome. And again, not welcome to a new political party, but welcome to a space where you can think freely, you can speak freely, and you'll have hopefully a group of people who are willing to actually hear you out and who are ready to have a conversation, which is what Charlie Kirk was attempting to do
Yep.
in his everyday life all
I
the
agree.
time with Turning Point USA and
Absolutely.
with his visits to these colleges. Now, I want to get into my first video that I saw about a guy leaving the left. Let's play.
Before we get into this, always challenge your perspective. If you think you're 100% correct on something, double check yourself, fact check yourself. Because 9 times out of 10, you're probably wrong. The person trying to convince you is also probably wrong. And there's probably somewhere in the middle there is the actual truth of the matter, the actual fact of which should you base your opinion on. right? Now, if it's something you agree or disagree with, that's a whole different conversation. But if we're talking about facts, we're talking about getting actual proper information out to the world. You need to fact check yourself, otherwise, you can look like an ass, right? A good example of this is when the photos of the shooter were being put out, people were questioning whether the guy that they caught was the real person or not. And it was because the photo that got pushed out was AI generated. So, yes, there were going to be some things that were not correctly pushed out to the public. And because of that, people followed that narrative and it led them on a completely wild goose hunt while the real person had yet to be even identified fully and fucking taken into custody, which, you know, that's old news at this point. They got the guy. I'm not even gonna fucking bring up his name.
So far, I've seen videos of just the left being pro unaliving political opponents, whether that be Trump, J.D. Vance, people celebrating what happened to Charlie Kirk today. It's just disgusting behavior. The fact that I have been a part of the left for 7 years, I never thought we'd get to the point where I would have to look at my own party and be like, oh, hold on, I can't support you anymore because everything that you are doing right now is against your political viewpoints and your values and beliefs.
I'm so glad that people are waking up to this, by the way, because the same thing's happening on the right, but people aren't waking up to that yet. But I do think it's coming. I do think it's coming. It's just a matter of time. Um, when it comes to the radicals on each side, the liberals and the conservatives, I would say the Republicans have a better handle on the conservatives on their side than Democrats have of liberals on theirs. Because Democrats tried to play kumbaya with these motherfuckers for way too long. And because of that, it's now infected the very fabric of their politics. Because Democrats, they were the progressive party, but they were the progressive party in the perfect direction. Anti corporation, all about human rights, all about pushing the envelope when it came to inclusivity, right? Uh, all of these things were, they basically fought for basic human necessity, and they lost the plot on that completely. And it became this fucking circus show of censorship, this show of control, this show of fucking at this point, violence. Violence. There's so many entwined within their party that were perfectly okay with all the riots, all of the assaults, all of the fucking shootings, and now we have assassination added onto that list, and that's just not okay. And it's not okay in any context. It didn't matter if you're right, left, fucking upside down. I don't give a fuck. Like, stop being a fucking animal, dude.
To sit here and promote gun violence against your opponents is wrong. And it arguably
Facts.
makes you worse than the other side because you're basically saying these people deserve to be unalived because our political beliefs are more important and should stand and should have more value than a human life. Ooh,
Yeah, I see a lot of that sentiment going around.
yeah, that doesn't sit right with me at all. That no, ooh,
And there you go. And I don't think it's going to sit right with a lot of people. It certainly doesn't sit right with me. There's a loss of humanity here. There's a desensitization to death. And even worse than that, there's a calling for death of people who disagree with you politically, which is something that I didn't expect at the left when I was on the left. And then I suddenly started to realize, oh, wait a second, there's something not right here. And he's talking about this phenomenon of, wow, that's really interesting that I can see a side that I've never felt I was going to leave start speaking like this. And I went through the very same thing. And when I tell you, I really thought this was a side I was never going to leave. I'm going to show you guys my arm, and I've done this countless times now. I have this fist, this little like black power fist that says speak above it, right on my arm tattooed here. I got it tattooed years ago.
I want to see the fucking one above it. Was that a fucking Chinese dragon right there? Eastern dragon? Oh, I fucking love dragon tattoos, dude. They're so sick.
Thinking that I would always stand for this sort of ideology. I would always stand for the left. There was never a point in my life where this was ever going to leave me, so might as well get it tattooed. And here I am now. And it's because I realized that the side that was claiming to be tolerant was not tolerant. They wanted to claim that they wanted coexistence. They were not interested in coexistence. They claimed that they were anti-racist, but in fact were some of the most racist individuals who were just entrenched in some of the most racist ideology I had ever come across in my life. And then when there was a time to raise your hand and just sort of bring up these questions. Not say I want to leave, but I have questions for this group of people who are claiming this bit of ideology and not living by it. There's no room for questions, only room for judgment, only room to be cast aside, only room to be ostracized and to be called a neo-Nazi or a fascist for even daring to question or have a little bit of skepticism to what you are experiencing.
One thing I would like to say too is that using those words as constant face value buzzwords to simply try to put up some sort of moral veil, um, I do think it desensitizes the word. And when the word becomes in a when it comes to a situation where the word is truly meant to mean what it actually means, um, people aren't going to take it for the seriousness that it should be because it has been thrown around so loosely. And that's kind of a scary thought because that's how something truly awful starts is when you desensitize the general population to rhetoric that could be used to throw up warning flags of real serious situations beginning, unfolding, and that can cause massive harm and damage to your way of life. So, yeah, I find it highly disappointing that these are typically how these arguments go. And when I'm talking to somebody, I don't really talk shop a lot with people. Um, if it does come up in conversation, I'll have a genuine conversation with them. But the minute that they start throwing that shit out, I'm just like, okay, you don't have a political opinion. You're just a fucking idiot. You're a retard. Just go the fuck home. Take your medication. Take a nap. Eat a Snickers. You'll be okay.
And that's what people are going to see now. When you see people calling
That's
for
how I
the death of
feel
somebody
every
like Charlie
time.
Kirk, cheering on the death of Charlie Kirk, saying that more death needs to happen, and you want to raise your hand and ask a question about that and say, that doesn't sit right with me, how do you think those individuals are going to respond? Well, I can tell you, because I have more
How were they gonna respond? How would they feel if that was their loved one? That's the way that I like to challenge these things all the time. It's like, "Oh, okay. How about your mom goes down like that? How about, how about your grandmother goes down like that? Your sister, your cousin, your aunt, your uncle, somebody real close to you, and feel like you couldn't live without them, and all of a sudden, they get shot in the neck by a conservative. How would you feel if the fucking shoe was on the other foot type situation? Always challenge your perspective before you go out blasting shit. Like this is exactly what I'm talking about.
evidence here, more examples of people on the left experiencing exactly that and being cast aside. It's not right. And if you are somebody who's a leftist now or is no longer because of what's happened and you're thinking this doesn't sit right with me, follow that feeling. I cannot stress it enough. And I'm probably going to say it a million more times in this video. Follow that feeling and you will be welcome elsewhere. And I don't mean you need to be welcome to another community and another label, but you will be welcome in a space outside of the space of extreme vitriol, hatred, and judgment that exists on the extreme left and in leftist.
And I think something that's interesting to me is if you want to see the evolution of the absolute destruction of somebody's mental state as far as like giving in to this left ideology bullshit. Um there's a streamer. His name is Hassan Piker. Go look at his content. Check out his early stuff before he was anywhere near the absolute radical that he is now. And just look at the progression of how much he has begun to simply hate his own existence. It's actually insane. It's actually insane. Like it is. And granted, some of it, it comes with, streaming for long periods of time. You get stressed out and it weighs on you a bit, right? But his progression rate versus somebody who is not involved in this type of thing in either the right or the left, um, the way that his mental state declines is actually insane. It's actually nuts. And this is the type of thing that so from an outsider's perspective, this is what I look for. I look to measure people a lot by their basic mannerisms, interactions, and displays of human nature that they give. Um, I'm a very analytical person, right? I'm very observant. I simply I simply like to study things. I guess is the best the easiest layman's term to give would be I'm a studious person. I like to study. I study everything. Um because of this, it has given me a wide array of adaptability, wisdom, intelligence when it comes to reading people, reading into people, like kind of trying to figure people out is like a hobby. Yeah, so I go back in for a little case study because I never knew who Hassan even was because he just was not a part of anything that was pushed in my direction um, until I was watching what was it the Steak and Eggs podcast or whatever. I was putting the some videos through some editing and stuff like that, so I just needed something to put on the background, and it came upon this old clip, and it was Hassan on the Steak and Eggs podcast, and I was like, "Whoa, whoa, what is this from?" And he almost seemed like a different person, and then I started diving into it more and more, and then it was kind of crazy to see like the friend group that he was involved in and how every single one of them has gone down a complete radical change in their life and how much it has absolutely changed their mental states from their moral values to basic ideology. And I find it I find it interesting to see how much you can change a person based off of what information that they consume. So this is why the world of politics, because I was completely uninvolved until I think I've been heavily political for like 3 years. Because before that, I always had the same philosophy, not even philosophy. I had the same logic. As long as they don't touch my paycheck, I don't give a fuck. Um, and that logic worked while I was dumb enough to believe that they weren't doing it. Until I found out the hard way that they've had their hand in my pocket the whole time, and they've also now, and I think at the time, I think it was Obama that was a president at the time. They started taking more out of my pocket, paying for more government programs, paying for more wasteful spending, paying for more things that I didn't want to be involved in. And then I was like, okay, I can't ignore this. I have to fucking get into politics. I have to learn about this stuff. I can't just be ignorant forever. So then that's when I became very, very heavily political, and I followed this and challenged my perspective on like where do I land when it comes to what these guys are talking about, and it turns out I don't land with any of them. Because I don't think anyone in politics right now, aside from Trump a little bit. Maybe JD Vance. I don't know. I got to see more from Vance. Let's see. Fucking Bernie Sanders. He was on it for a while. He was doing good. And then I think out of all the politicians, those are the only three that really stood out to me in any perspective. But none of them were coming up with good solves. Actually, there's another one that I just pictured in my head, but I can't think of his name right now. Um, none of them know how to solve the problem, only the symptom of the problem. Like those three plus the one that I'm picturing, and that's gonna bother me because now fuck, I need to know his name. Um, only like those four people do I ever consider being any percent worthy of being a leader in this country because they actually found a problem and they solved a problem and they didn't just band-aid it with another bullshit solution that's not going to last more than a fucking year or two, right? So that's what it came down to. And on that political journey, it was a matter of like, okay, so I now believe in this, I believe in this, I believe in this, I believe in this, I believe in this. And I could have said, hey, I'm right leaning, I'm left leaning, I'm whatever. But I pretty much decided to say, you know what? I'm not even going to get involved at all. I'm going to keep up on it. I'm going to pay attention to what's going on and I'm going to analyze it from an outward perspective. I'm not going to be involved in any of these communities or these groups or anything like that. So there are very specific groups that I follow. So there is a very, very heavy liberal, absolute insane asylum group that I follow on Facebook. And that is simply just to get what a very heavily censored, moderated, fucking narrow point of view of what the liberals are talking about. Over on X, I follow a very conservative page that is very, very, very conservative, like so far conservative. Um, and then I see kind of like, okay, so this is what they're talking about. So I keep up on what they're saying, I keep up on what they're saying, and then on just my regular fucking just regular old fucking X for you page, TikTok, fucking Facebook outside of the group, um I just see what average everyday people are saying. And I say, okay, so this is what the fucking crazies over here are saying. This is what the crazies are over here are saying. And then, oh yeah, oh, I mean, if I catch like a Republican or Democrat like on X talking about certain issues, I'll see what their perspective is on it. Um, because they're not so heavily influenced by these two way out here. But generally speaking, I'll look for people who are uninvolved with politics, and I'll see, okay, what is the Walmart, Target, fucking Costco, Sam's Club, like what are these people thinking, right? Like what are the people in the oil fields thinking? What are the people who are car salesmen? Or, what are they thinking? You know, average, everyday, just doing the 9 to 5 type fucking people. What are they thinking? Because those are the people whose opinion actually matters on a subject. Because those people in mass are going to decide the outcome of that topic, right? So if the middle and working class Americans decide that terrorism is now legal, it's going to be legal because they will vote for it to be legal. Um, a good example of using National Guard on domestic soil to remove criminals. Should it be legal? Should it not be legal? But you know who made it legal? The working everyday class Americans made it legal because they allow it to happen, right? When a judge tries to speak out against it or tries to halt their advance into their city, the working everyday class people say no. Put that fucking gavel down. Go home. We want this. And every time the judge has no choice but to listen, right? The governor has no choice but to listen, right? The corporation has no choice but to listen, right? Those are the people who truly make the decisions. The average Joes, the you and me's that we go to work 40 hours a week or more and we just grind. We make the decisions. And this is why I want these messages to get out here. And people, I want you guys to challenge your perspectives and find that grounded, that based take that is the correct take and not the left or the right or the conservative or the fucking liberal or the moderate fence sitter. Like you're looking for the correct take.
circles. Now, I came across this young girl on TikTok who was crying, and
I'm not I'm not a racist, but the nose ring already tells me what I need to know.
she posts crying liberal tears for Charlie Kirk. Let's see the video.
Charlie Kirk just got shot in Utah, and I wasn't like expecting to feel. I didn't feel this way until I saw the video of it happen. Charlie Kirk is a dumb idiot who says dumb things, but oh my god. I just really don't understand. Like, we've come to this like place of horrific political violence.
Okay, so there you go. You kind of get the gist of this video. She's getting thousands of comments of people like saying, "Are you serious? How are you crying for a neo-Nazi? Are you crying for a fascist? How dare you cry for somebody like Charlie Kirk?" Which is the left responding to her, and somebody who is admittedly saying, "I'm a liberal, but I'm crying tears for Charlie Kirk," and I don't agree with him. She even calls him like a dumbass or something like that. I don't agree with him, but political violence is political violence, and I do not accept that. It doesn't sit right with me. And leftists are hopping in her comment section to attack her and ask her if she's serious for crying at just destruction, the destruction of somebody's life, the destruction of two children's lives.
Yeah, see, this is gonna deeply affect, because like the most popular political platform for women is the left. So when the left is responsible for the murder of a family man who is very openly a family man, who is very much not a violent person, who very much promoted peace, that is going to absolutely burn those emotional strings that they had for your party. And that's the situation you're going to run into. Like, because, like, clearly, she's not making the greatest choices out here with that fucking nose ring. Jesus. But, you know, hopefully she makes a better decision. She gets rid of the nose ring, right? As she becomes more and more based.
Charlie Kirk, and I don't agree with him. She even calls him like a dumbass or something like that. I don't agree with him, but political violence is political violence, and I do not accept that. It
Yep.
doesn't sit right with me. And leftists are hopping in her comment section to attack her and ask her if she's serious for crying at just destruction, the destruction
Yeah,
of
I saw a
somebody's life, the
lot of that
destruction
sentiment.
of two children's lives, the destruction of his wife Erica's life. Are we being serious right now? And I think the realization is going to set in that this is not just a fluke. This is not some moment of the loss of dignity on the left. This is indicative of leftist ideology to its very core. This is how leftism responds to something like this. This is how leftism actually calls for something like this. And I hope the realization is made far and wide, because there are plenty of free thinking, open conversational people who are ready to accept and have discussions with leftists who are ready to leave, or at the very least ready to vocalize their skepticism and have a little bit of a conversation. Here's another clip that's going viral right now. This one says, "I quit being liberal."
And this is the part that like really like got people so stuck in their ways, was because there was so much conversational control over what you can and cannot believe that it caused these very narrow lanes of thinking to exist. But now that that has been removed, these narrow lanes are becoming fucking 6-lane highways where they now have to contend with every single free marketplace of ideal opinion and agenda and all that. And it's starting to really fucking tie into, okay, so do I really believe in this or do I not believe in this? Like, because they've never challenged their perspective. So you're now taking these people from like an isolated community and you're throwing them in like a public mall where you're gonna basically interact with almost everyone.
Roll, R.I.P. Charlie Kirk.
Kirk got shot in the fucking neck. That was the
This is
last
the one.
bastion. I can't.
This is the one that I saw. I'm gonna skip ahead of this one because I already. We'll just see what she has to say to that.
Much stronger sentiment than the other videos that we saw, but something that people are feeling nonetheless. Okay. And again, I went through this journey myself. I was like scared of it. I'm like, how am I gonna, I can't vocalize anything. I'm gonna be so judged. And if I leave this group of people, I'm leaving everything that I know. I'm leaving all my friends. I'm leaving all of this stuff. No, it's okay. It's actually okay. It's actually okay to have decency in this moment and look at
Yep.
those who are being indecent and say, you know what, that is not who I am, and that's not the group that I want to be a part of. And you may not know where you want to be, and it, we don't even need like labels anymore at this point, but you can know that this is not right, that this does not sit well with you. And I'm seeing leftists who are vocalizing that this is not right. Parker, who's a young leftist debater I spoke about in a video recently, has put out a message saying, you know what, if you are calling for this violence or you're accepting of this violence, unfollow me. And shout outs to leftist individuals who are saying things like that, because it is so necessary in this time to call these people out. And if you're struggling internally with everything that's happening right now, you're
See, this is the part I do agree with her on, is that they need to call these people out. And they need to get them out of their fucking group. Get rid of them, right? Because is the left was always a very respectable group, whether you agree or disagree with their politics, right? They were always respectable. At the very least, you could respect them for their opinions on things, right? But it was no different than fucking Bernie Sanders. When Bernie Sanders was refusing to get involved with the liberal ideology, they fucking pushed him out. They pushed him out. They treated him like shit. And it's that toxic fucking it's just me or it's just you, not me fucking situation that has caused all of this to happen.
you're certainly not alone, and it's okay to leave these people alone. It's okay to leave these people behind. It's okay to admit that you were on the wrong side of things, and that was like a struggle for me. It's like two of the hardest phrases, I guess, to say in this world right now, or I don't know and I was wrong. Nobody feels comfortable saying that, and I will tell you wholeheartedly, 10 toes down with my whole chest, I was wrong. Okay, when I was on the left, I was full of hatred, and nowhere near the hatred that I'm seeing online right now. I would have never said anything near what I'm witnessing right now from leftists when I was a leftist. So think about how bad it has become in the years after me deciding to leave the left. This is a new level. This is a new level. And if you're looking at this new level, this new human low when it comes to the response to death and tragedy and a gruesome assassination, and you're going, I was wrong to be a part of this group, by all means, like, shout it from the rooftops and be proud to exclaim that statement for everybody to hear. It is okay to be
True.
wrong. It's in fact a gift to be wrong, especially when it's
We learn the most from the failures we have. I can't tell you how many times I've fallen before I learned how to fucking run. Right? It's been a metaphor for life since most of us were fucking barely an infant, right? Um Nobody ever truly achieves glory before the fall. Ever. Ever. Every single time you had to go through the depths of the deepest abyss to get to the tallest mountain, right? That's just life. It's just life. But people have got so encaptured by all this stuff that everything has to have a meaning, a purpose, a fucking belonging, a fucking safe space. And people just don't want to go through life. Like, you just have to. Like, there's no avoiding that dark abyss. Like, you're gonna end up there, whether somebody else puts you there or you put yourself there. Which, generally speaking, you putting yourself there happens 9 times out of 10 anyway. Because even like a popular example of this is it would be if anybody's played like Assassin's Creed Valhalla, when you go to Asgard, you play as Odin, and you are playing as Odin trying to fight against his fate. He's doing anything in his power to not have to die the way that he was written in to die. In his struggles, he sacrifices everything. He sacrifices his love life, he sacrifices his morals, he sacrifices knowledge, he sacrifices wisdom, everything that made him who he was. He sacrificed it all to try to subvert fate. But at the end of the day, you can't. You can't. That's no different than life. It didn't matter what you do to try to avoid, the hardship. It doesn't matter what you do to try to fucking get it easy. Um, fuck. I mean, for a real world example, look at fucking MGK. Look at Post Malone. Those are two people that put themselves through fucking hell. And now MGK is sober. He went to rehab. He if you guys listen to his recent album, he truly seems more upbeat than he was before. He's dealing with the fact that he's sober, and the only thing that he has had as a vice is cigarettes, and he's going through it. But his perspective is completely different. We're talking about somebody who has had a immature perspective on life, lost many friends, many family members, and has came from a very dark past, and he let it control him. But at some point, he's got to figure out how to climb that mountain, and he's on his journey right now. NF is another good example of somebody who has been through hell and back, right? Kendrick Lamar, another good example. Kendrick Lamar is actually an insane example because he's literally on the mountain. He's on the mountain right now. Um, yeah, I mean Post Malone. I mean, most people know about Post Malone. His transformation is fucking crazy. He went from entering in as like a R&B hip hop fucking pop star to going down a crazy like addiction rabbit hole and having a lot of these crazy stories about fucking him missing teeth and shit and fucking having to fucking flush shit down the toilet so he doesn't get in trouble and like all this different stuff that he talks about in his songs. And to see him make that transition to a country boy it is kind of crazy. His F1 Trillion album might be, yeah, I think it actually is my favorite album of his because it truly felt amazing. And we're kind of off topic now, but the point is that these people have changed over time and they all had to go through hell, sometimes more than once, in order to see the light and follow their way out, right? And, you know, that's the way it is. That's life. That's life. Hills and valleys.
Being wrong about something like this. In fact, it proves that you are engaged with humanity, that you have compassion, that you have integrity, that you have a moral compass that is
Right. Imagine being human.
stronger than the judgment that is cast on you by the political left when you attempt to raise your hand and question them or to say they're doing something wrong. And I do posit to you that the group of people that is claiming to be anti-authoritarianism, anti-totalitarianism, anti-fascist is now cheering on the death of somebody who disagreed with them politically and is calling for the death of other individuals who would disagree with them politically. What does that mean for free speech, which is one of the first things attacked by totalitarian regimes? What does that mean about the congruence between their ideology?
Well, free speech has been attacked for years. It gets attacked every time a certain political group gets overwhelming power. And if you're on the right, we're seeing it right now. How many people are getting fired right now for celebrating the death of Charlie Kirk? It is free speech. It's very disagreeable speech and it's morally wrong, but it is still free speech. But you're seeing a lot of these people facing real world consequences for their actions. Now, whether you agree that these actions are justified or not, that's up to you. That's your opinion. You know, you get to have it because you have free speech, right? But at the end of the day, the reason that I am not raising the red flag on this is because the left did it first. Y'all had 10 years of shutting down any single narrative that challenged your perspective. Oh, and there are still communities where that is still the case. If you look at Nexus Mods, for example, um, that one isn't as, fucking prominent, but the most prominent is Reddit, of course. Reddit, you cannot post anything right at all. Blue Sky, um, Twitter, until it got turned into X by Elon, which was when the big turning point happened. Um, yeah, it's kind of nuts. It's kind of nuts. Um, so right now, the way that I see it is that the right and the conservative side of things, they're just getting their get back now. Like y'all did this shit to them for fucking years, and now you're bitching because they're doing it back to you. Sorry, not sorry. Y'all did this. Y'all. This is why they tell you in the Bible, he who casts the first stone. All right. And I am not Christian or Catholic or fucking whatever other fucking offshoot fucking Jesus believer there is out there. Um, but I do know you should not cast stones from your glass house. So here we are.
And what they claim and how they actually live out their values. Do we really think that these individuals are tolerant? Do we really think that these individuals want to coexist when they are literally calling for the end of existence of people like Charlie Kirk, people who share his values and beliefs? I'm seeing them call for other conservatives to show up at college campuses so they can meet the same fate as Charlie Kirk. And if you're seeing that from a group of people that you once liked, once associated with, and you don't want to be a part of it, then don't be a part of it. There is just so much hypocrisy. There's so much hatred, and it's so saddening to watch. And I think so many people are feeling this in their cores right now. And I'm like re-witnessing and sort of reliving the moment that I realized the left was not for me over and over again in everything that I'm seeing right now, in every single tweet, in every single post, in every single video of somebody cheering, dancing, laughing. I'm seeing and like looking back on that time in my life where I went, yeah, no, I'm in the wrong room. I'm not on the right side of history here. And I'm certainly not on the right side of my humanity and the feelings that I have right now. And sometimes it's just a whisper in the back of your head. And it's very easy to shut that up and continue on the side that you're on and continue doing what you're doing, no matter how destructive or distasteful it is. But listen to the whisper, guys. Listen to the whisper, because if the whisper is telling you you shouldn't cheer on the death of your political opponents, the whisper is probably right. And yeah, I don't know. That's really all I have to say. I'd love to hear from people in the comments. If you are a left-leaning person now who's considering leaving the left, if you're somebody who has left the left, either right now or in the past due to something that you've seen, what was the turning point, honestly, for not even lack of a better word, that is the perfect way to put this. What was the turning point for you? And drop that in the comments down below. Let me know. If you are a leftist who disagrees with the celebratory response right now to Charlie Kirk's death, but you still remain on the left, please let me know your perspective down below. There is room for conversation. There is room for back and forth. That's what Charlie was trying to do in his day-to-day life. That is what we will try to continue to do on this channel and with everything that we do. So let me know and I will be reading that. And again, if you're leaving the left, welcome. I don't know what I'm welcoming you to, but
No, this is a really good video. I enjoyed this. I enjoyed this a lot. Um, she's pretty based. she is pretty based, I will say. Um, I do think there needs to be more voices like hers out there, and this is a voice that I am also trying to be. Just because at the end of the day, this is what it comes down to, right? You need people like me, like her, like fucking like Asmongold, people like that. You need people like this to give, okay, here's the two sides of the argument. Um, Here's my opinion on this argument. Or if it's something that needs to be clarified via a fact or something like that, it needs to be brought up and discussed in a way that is not taking shots at the other side. So, as much as people don't like to admit it, common ground is the best ground to stand on. Always, always. So, yeah, that's gonna be it for this video. Make sure you smash like, comment, subscribe, do all the stuff, and we'll catch you in the next video. If you made it this far, type pepperoni in the comments. If you didn't, I know you didn't make it to the end of the video. You piece of shit.